What's good with y'all out there? Yeah, I got another guest, y'all. And bruh be drawing some incredible artwork. Like he got his own niche to the thing. You feel me? It's like cartoon buff bodies. Like the shit incredible to me, man. God damn. Oh my goodness. I gotta introduce my guest right here, BC Royce. Bro, I gotta give you some goddamn air horns, hand claps. Bro, we're gonna show some of your artwork too, but before we get into that though, I want you to let the people know who you are, where you come from, what you actually call yourself, you feel me? I feel like you're a cartoonist, but I could be wrong. You feel
Nah,
me?
you're right. You're
Okay,
right.
cartoonist, yeah. And also any projects, anything else you want my audience to know on the show Storming the Brain. So the floor is yours, brother. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Kamal, for having me on. Um, so yeah, name is BC Royce. It actually stands for Brandon Royce Clark.
Mhm.
People always ask me that in terms of like what the name is. So I'm just flipping my initials around and stuff. Thought it sounded cool, but I am mainly a part-time artist, part-time bartender.
Mhm.
I'm actually moving more towards branching out with my art, but I do specialize in, of course, buff people, particularly women, keeping it more cartoony and like a old school, almost like a little bit of Looney Tunes,
Mm,
1940s pinup style as well. So I try to keep the girls especially feminine looking, but
yeah,
also still buff so that I can, I guess, appeal to that niche audience.
yeah. So that.
Uh,
So
in terms of, oh, go ahead.
I did want to ask what got you into that because that's like it is an interesting niche to be in. So what kind of got you into that?
Honestly, man, it is weird how that muse hit me. It started when I was actually 12 years old. Because when I was young, I just like regular girls like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, as an artist, we draw generally what we find most appealing. So for me, that is buff women, thicker, curvy, buff, athletic women, as well as um, anthropomorphic guy characters like Lizard Man and
Mm,
warrior type heroes, but more mythical, kind of based on um, ancient Egyptian and Greek mythology type stuff. I like to combine a lot of that into what I do for my guy characters. But
okay.
for the women, which is what I guess I'm more is my specialty. I just when I was 12 years old, I remember watching WW. Back then it was WWF and WCW.
Yeah.
I remember first seeing two different wrestlers. They both of them had buff women. One was Asia for
Oh yeah.
WCW.
Hell
Her
yeah.
name was Christy Wolf, and then China Joni
China.
Laura. And I saw them both around the same time, and I'd never seen a woman like that before. And so I just was like, "Oh my God, these women look amazing!" And then they were athletic as hell.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't just all show with their muscle and so yeah, I just found out at an early age, okay, I'm attracted to that. And so I didn't start drawing them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It took me like a couple more years to start really dabbling with that, just because uh, my family and everything's old school. I grew up in a Baptist church in Texas, Dallas, Texas, where I'm from.
Okay.
Buff women back then, that was like, this is late 90s, early 2000s. People were
Mm,
like, nah, man, that's weird,
yeah.
so I kept that hidden as best as I could,
Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't start coming out featuring them in my work until really when the pandemic hit. I was working actually at Gold's Gym Venice, which
Okay.
has a lot of female bodybuilders there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was panicking because I wasn't sure about all these stimulus checks. I'm kind of suspicious when it comes to government and stuff, so I was like,
I
man, I
feel
don't
you.
trust these people. I was like, let me go while they're shutting down this sales and all this. Let me at least try to lean on what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
and start talking to these women and try to get them to help. If they'll, tag me, post me on their stories and stuff, I'll do a free drawing of them. And slowly but surely, that started to build where I started to appear in different shows like the Olympia. I've gone and done expos there.
Oh
I
shit.
got
Okay.
Yeah, I've done the Arnold. I've been at the Arnold as well. And later on this month, on September 30th, I will be at the Rising Phoenix with my art booth, and that is mainly for it. It does all men, women competitors, but it does feature more of the women in that one.
Okay. For the people out there that don't know what like the Arnold is, the Rising Phoenix, can you kind of expound on that? What that is?
Well, the Arnold for Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Arnold Expo is like the biggest sports fitness expo in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People travel from all over to come to that one. The Olympia is the main, every year you have a Super Bowl in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. The Olympia is the equivalent of the Super Bowl for bodybuilding.
Okay.
They do have some of the other sports and fitness stuff, like strongman, strongwoman, all those types of things, but it mainly focuses on the bodybuilding aspect.
Okay.
And
So,
then, yeah, Rising Phoenix is basically the same because they're actually partially owned by the same guy.
okay.
Um, so that the Rising Phoenix just tended to be. There was a time when women's bodybuilding was dying very recently,
Mm.
and this guy named James Wood started this company called the Rising Phoenix, and he mainly focused on the women bodybuilders because he didn't want them to die out completely from the,
Mm.
just he understood there was still an audience for it, and then slowly it rose again, and they actually brought women's bodybuilding back into the Olympia because of that show.
Nice. Okay. So, did you actually start doing this in Texas, or when you came out to here in San Diego? Like, when did you come out to San Diego, and then like, how is that atmosphere from Texas to San Diego doing what you do?
Well, my transition over to San Diego is a little more complicated than that. I first went to LA from
Okay.
Dallas back in, what was that, like 2019,
Uh-huh.
and tried to be an animator. I was like, you know what, let me, they say you gotta, pursue your dreams. I always hear about all the best artists and stuff, and everyone trying to get famous going to LA. So I was like, let me try to do my thing. I came out to LA. It just it was cool. There's some things that I like about it, but the culture there just wasn't for me. And also, while I was there, I was studying under a guy. I started taking classes in character design from a artist, a professional artist, whose name is Charles Zimbillis. He actually uh, he drew. I don't know if you know Fievel from American Tail, the old 1980s movie, 1990s movie.
American. Now I don't know that.
He's a little mouse. His name is Fievel Mouskowitz.
He said
He's a
five.
Don. Yeah, Fievel. Um, they. It was a company that actually rivaled Disney back in the late '80s, early '90s, before the Disney Renaissance.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. This little motherfucker
Yep.
right here. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I didn't even know that was his name. Okay,
Yep. Fievel
five.
Mouskowitz.
Okay.
So Charles actually helped with the design of that character and his family. And he also, if you're a big video gamer, you may remember Spyro the Dragon.
Hell yeah, I used to play that.
Yeah,
He
he
designed
he
that.
designed Spyro. He designed Crash Bandicoot.
What?
So I saw some of his original sketches and drawings of all those characters, man. So it was because I grew up on that stuff too. So it was like for me, like really meeting a true, not a celebrity, but a true like an idol that you
Yeah.
had. And he was a very cool dude. He was very encouraging of me when he saw the type of women I drew, because I kept it kind of hidden from him as well.
Yeah.
He finally saw me drawing on one. He's like, "Why don't you draw these more?" And I was like, "Cause it's not." I said, I was honest. I was like, it's kind of weird. I mean, this isn't for everybody. And he's like, "But this is what you're best at." So he's like, screw what everybody else thinks is cool. He's like, you should really focus on this and create a name for yourself. He actually kind of was like, why do you want to become an animator for all these other studios? He was like, why don't you you know, take the less conventional route and really just try to build your own brand around what you want to create. Because he was like, man, the type of person you are working for these studios, getting into it with these different executives, because he already knew I would butt with them with some of my ideas and visions. I'm very story driven
Yeah.
with a lot of the projects I'm trying to create. And he was just like, man, it can kind of suck your soul if you're
Hmm.
just drawing all day and you don't feel like the people who are making you draw care that much about good stories and messages being told. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I can see that. And I also got to give another shout out to, because when I was back in Dallas, there was a guy I studied under his own private studio. His name is JC Barba.
Okay.
And I studied on and off with him for a couple of years. We mainly focused on anatomy. So
Hmm.
that actually did help me with the muscles that I draw. But he saw the women that I draw too, and he was like, man, like you're really really good at them at that. And he's like, you do it differently because you curve them up a bit.
Yeah.
You keep them very feminine. So he's like, man, you definitely need to start focusing, honing in on that. So I gotta give him a lot of credit too, because he was very encouraging of me when I wanted to keep this hidden to
Hmm.
myself, because there was a lot of shame tied to uh, these women that I was attracted to. So
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of sucks that you had to feel that type of shame and shit. Cause you know what I mean. It shouldn't be no shame in who you like. You know what I mean?
yeah, in an ideal world, but
Yeah.
it ain't that way.
Yeah, man. I
So
feel that. All right. So, what can you name a couple people that inspired you into getting into doing cartoons and being a cartoonist in a sense?
well, um, Charles, in a sense, just because of kind of his style. I really liked when, especially if you look at some of his sketches, they have a lot of life in them.
Yeah.
Um, the other great artists that I revered, looking up to, some of them are actually specialized in female bodybuilders or muscle women. Um, they're on the internet, and I don't know these guys, but there's when I was growing up, there was a guy named Chris Morrison. There
Okay.
was a guy they're on the internet, so you can find him that way. But there's a guy named Jabriado. He does Jed art.
Mm.
Um, and then when it came to just regular cartoons and stuff, I really, really loved, of course, Dragon Ball Z when it came to
Hell
America.
yeah.
I was the first generation of Americans that got to see Dragon Ball Z when it came over, and then I was still watching. I had to watch it in Japanese sometimes because they still didn't
Hmm.
have some of the. I had to watch the whole Cell Saga in Japanese, but it was such an enjoyable experience, and it's so crazy seeing how big it's become now. But
Hmm.
the Dragon Ball art style by Akira Toriyama really inspired me. Of course, is Batman drawings from Jim Lee.
Okay.
And then, of course, to me, some of the best artists of all time, and I don't think they get nearly enough praise and credit, are the Looney Tunes and early Disney Renaissance artists like Glenn Keane. Glenn
Hmm.
Keane to me is like the best animator of all time. And for people who don't know who that is, he's the one that animated Beast from
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast.
Hmm.
He also did Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. He's done a lot of classic, and Ariel from Little Mermaid.
Okay. Hell
So
yeah.
yeah, he designed, and Pocahontas as well. He designed a lot of those characters, and he was great with action scenes. So his style of drawing, where he was really able to catch the body in motion,
Hmm.
appealed to me a lot as well. Uh, so yeah, I one of the things that I always think is a shame is like we know all these characters,
Yeah.
we really have grown up to idolize them, look up to them, but a lot of us don't know or even care to know who the people who created these people are, or these amazing things are. And part of me feels like the way mainstream media industry is kind of meant to be that way. I think they kind of want to keep the artists and the true creators hidden, from the public eye.
Yeah.
Um, I have my own reasons behind why I think that is, but I wish more people would know and go look up these people, because a lot of our childhoods were formed from these great characters and the creators who put them out for us.
True. I wonder if like more of the companies should do that to kind of get them more of a boost out there, so we know who these people are. You know what I mean? Because you mentioned like Disney, basically Batman's DC. It's like I wonder if those companies should be hold something to get their name out there, so we can have more awareness of who they are. You know?
They should, and I think they could have if they really wanted to. I know that if you go to like Comic Cons, anime expos, the people who are really, really true, geeks. Now that's a popular term now. Like back when I
Yeah.
was a kid, it wasn't cool to be a geek.
Hell no.
You get beat down for being a
Beat
geek.
down. People talk shit about you.
Oh
Even boys
man,
like, God damn.
yeah, girls don't want to be nowhere near you once you get that stigma. So,
For real.
uh, so yeah, I had to learn, especially when I started playing football and stuff, to really keep that side of me hidden.
Yeah.
Um, but I learned as I got older, man. Screw that. And what's funny is a lot of the jocks and stuff. When I start just letting loose and bringing up these conversations, we be in the locker room talking about whatever plays, and then I'll bring it. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's like when Goku did
Hmm.
this type of move in Dragon Ball, and they'd be like, what, you watched that? And then they'd be like, all right, low key, man, that's cold. And, that last episode when he whooped up on Frieza,
Yeah.
that was nice. And it be some of the biggest, like, you think they about to be NFL All-Star jocks that will come and quietly be like, hey man, it's dope that you like that. And then when they knew that I drew them, they were like, hey, low key, Brandon is a great artist. That's kind of what I became known for at school a little bit.
Hell yeah. I felt like it was anime and wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Like it's hella big now, but back then, bro, if you like the anime and wrestling, people on low, hey, bro, yeah, hell yeah, Triple H is tight, bro. You feel me? Basketball, I like everybody. Man, why you watching that shit?
Yeah,
The fuck?
yeah,
Like, you just said it was cool. What the? You
yeah.
feel me?
That's what peaked me out to social pressure and how media puts different things out, especially in certain groups, for what's cool and then what's not. What's to kind of discourage people from those groups of
Yeah.
pursuing it. And growing up, young and black, you basically it's like, okay, rap is cool
Hmm.
and sports are cool.
Yep.
Anything outside of that, there may be some little bit of wiggle room, but for the most part, anything outside of that, you would get shamed or kind of like, if you're in a public setting, people be like, oh man, that's weird, that's that's nerd stuff, that's soft,
Hmm.
and people don't realize it. People are like, oh well, you just shake that off, that's stupid. It kind of is, but growing up in areas where you are, especially as a young black man, trying to prove your masculinity, because that is a lot of what gives you social credit. I
Yeah.
mean, men anywhere, proving their masculinity, especially in America, is big. But I think it's especially concentrated in the black community, especially if you grew up, from civil rights to 90s, and of course, don't have to take it way, way back. I think since we've been in this country, like proving our manhood has been a very, very big part of our persona.
Yeah.
And so whenever you do things that kind of contrast that, you would get a lot of, I would get a lot of pushback on it. And I realized though that when you got these people by themselves one on one, they love talking to you about it. I mean, I had dudes who, people would call them quote unquote gangsters, who behind closed doors, they would talk to me and be like, hey man, you've read that Star Wars book? There's one called Labyrinth of Evil, and it
Yeah.
had General Grievous in it. And they read that book too, or they read some of the parts of it, and they like, bro, that stuff is amazing. They said that stuff is even better than what's in the movies. They like, why don't the movies have that? And I'd be like, bro, like you are more of a geek than even I am, because I'm
Yeah,
like, I haven't even read that book yet. And they, but we used to love, you know, actually talking about that. And I just realized, like, for them to go into one room, say we're at a club or something, and
yeah,
you can't let anyone know you have any ties to that stuff. But then you get with us, maybe we're puffing on something, having a few, drinks. Then they start to loosen up and be like, hey, it's cool. I'm around B. He's not going to judge me too hard for this stuff. I
mm-hmm.
just realized, like, man, like, I don't know why I want to keep trying to impress this type of society. Not that,
Yeah,
I still want to set a good example for, kids and then also my friends. But I started to be like, why does it matter how much these people as a society, as a social group, value me if I all of a sudden, I come out and say I like buff women, or if I like, if I start talking about Peter Parker and his rivalry with the original Green Goblin,
yeah,
it's like that stuff don't matter. And honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I start to get cool points from people who are like, you know what, I like how you're honest. I like how you keep it real as best you can. And so
yeah.
I was like, that's what I'm gonna try to do, the best of my abilities.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. You feel me? It's so I'm originally from Oakland. You feel me? I moved out here. I moved in San Diego at '05. So I get exactly what you're saying. Oakland when I was growing up, it was 40% predominantly black. You feel me? And it was certain things like, and my brother TVon might be watching this, but he already know. You feel me? Like, me and him, we used to like rock music and shit like that. We say it out loud. They looking at us like, you like that? You feel me? It's the same concept. But then, when you ain't around the crowd or the group, he would be like, hey, what's the name of that song y'all was slapping? Like, we kind of like that too. You feel me? So I get exactly what you're saying, bro. You feel me?
And there's also what people don't realize too. We're both bright skinned, so there's
Yeah.
an extra layer of. It's so funny when I talk to sometimes other races who actually can sense that and they can see it. They're like, oh, y'all probably get a little bit of extra flack from your own group. And I was like, yes, there is
A
that.
little
Like
bit.
you have to, what's that?
Yeah, we get a little bit of more flack. You feel me?
From our own group and
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm not complaining about it. At the end of the day, now I'm growing to be just more comfortable with who I am. But
Hmm.
a lot of those, you would say, mental and social ostracism, that is what probably drew me or made me go back to drawing
Hmm.
and these fantastical characters as a comfort zone.
Okay.
Um, Not being able to feel like I could really connect to everyone I see, not at least on a truly authentic level, most times out of the day. So I would just go whenever I had time and sketch them out, write little stories and bios about them.
Hmm.
And that was it brought me a lot of peace, but it also, um, in a way, they started to become like real to me.
Yeah, I feel that. All right. So the art industry itself, um, what are some of maybe some of the obstacles that you have faced doing what you do? So like, say for instance, it's a young kid in the room and he wants to do what you do. Give him some games, give him some advice on what to do and what obstacles you had to overcome.
At the end of the day, everyone asks this, and the truth is, it sounds simple. You have to keep drawing.
Okay.
Um, Most times, because almost all kids start out drawing. That's one of the things that's just innate to human nature.
Yeah.
What happens though is, because I knew so many people, I've met so many people that used to draw, and back when we were drawing, they were actually better than me. But since then, they stopped. Probably during or after high school. or even middle school, and then years later they see me and be like, "Oh, you got so much better," blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because I chose to continue to do it. Now, another thing is learning to really draw what you like, because I know the only art class I ever took in, I mean, we used to have to take them in elementary and stuff, but I hated it
Yeah.
because they made us just draw. I don't know. They made us do like paper crafts and stuff. To each their own. If that's what you like to create, great. You create that. And
Yeah.
it's nothing wrong with trying something creative that you're not comfortable with. That's true. But I remember when I did take an art class in high school, I was good, but if I look back at it, like I was good for a 15, 16, 17-year old. But I look back on it now, I wasn't amazing, but I was better than my art teachers. And
Yeah.
then they're trying to tell me stuff, but it wasn't really about how to draw the stuff I like drawing. It was always more stuff about, still life, or sometimes drawing portraits. And I'm like, bro, like, I see this stuff. I could take a photo of this stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather, if I'm gonna have to draw apples and real people, I'd rather exaggerate them or turn them into like warriors or something and have some kind of cool backstory to go with it. That's what really stimulates me.
Hell yeah.
And so for the formative years, especially in America, it is hard for an artist to find their way from 0 to 18. But then after that, honestly, and there's gonna be a lot of people don't like hearing this, an artist does not necessarily need to have a formal degree in order to have success as an artist. The
Mm,
truth is, with the art business, with certain things, certain aspects of the business, you could say like the accountants, financing, all that stuff. Yes, you need your certificates, you need your degrees. But for the creators, the truth is, people are going to hire you based on your talent. People are going
yeah.
to hire you based on if what you're drawing and creating sparks their eye and they want to have some of your product. That's why you don't need to have a degree. I'm not saying you don't need to go to college and study other things. You could get degrees in other things, and you may benefit also from taking art classes.
Yeah.
Also, I know a lot of artists who, went to what's it called, Cal Arts and other places, and a lot of them have had success from going to those places. So there is a thing to be said to going to the really good art schools that really specialize in whatever it is that you want to accomplish, especially if you're trying to be an animator.
Yeah.
I'm all for that, because that's specialized training that's very hard to get and figure out on your own. Um, but honestly, the best rate that I found is kind of dabbling here and there. I mean,
Okay.
I went to college at UT Dallas. I thought I wanted to be an animator then, and they had an arts and technology program. I thought it was going to have like a bunch of cool animation. It was more for the computer programmer type people.
I got you. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me, and so I failed there. I did miserable. Um, Now I did do a couple of animations on my own, which
Mm-hmm.
was cool. Like I made a velociraptor jump across the screen, and these were hand drawn. These were all like hand drawn animations, and then also made a little happy face. I turned it into a bull's head. I don't know how I did
Yeah.
that to this day, but it was that that showed me at an early age that it's like, okay, if I really do put my head and grind to this and really focus, then I can do some cool stuff on my own. Like the teacher didn't really teach me how to animate that stuff.
Yeah.
She taught me, the different functions of the buttons and stuff, but in terms of piecing it together, I had to figure out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Another part of my journey has been going and buying books from great artists that I like. Preston Blair's book on how to animate, Walt Stansfield. These are guys that even taught many Disney animators. So some of the artist journey is going to be, of course, going to school, finding out what classes work for you or not, But also, if you don't choose to go to school, maybe hiring a private mentor,
Mm-hmm.
one that you meet at a gallery or meeting at a Comic Con or something. You know, a lot of these guys have different jobs with their art, and
Yeah.
they're not holier than thou to where if you were to sometimes be like, hey, do you do apprenticeships or do you hire one-on-one training and stuff? It'll surprise you some of the ones who'll be, and some of them will offer you some knowledge for free,
Mm.
some tips and knowledge for free. Uh, but don't expect that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't tell anyone to go in there expecting that. But that's where a lot of my skill developed, was really sitting at home long hours after I finished working my regular 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
or even during my 9 to 5. You know,
Yeah.
not quote unquote not supposed to, but
We don't
you know
keep
you
that
can't.
that on the hush.
Hey man, you know, I'm like, why sit here and let my brain rot in front of this computer? Why don't I put it on this little sketch pad?
I feel that.
Um, but doing that, those are the thousands of hours that people don't see. It's just like with NBA players, we only see them when they're on the court. We don't see the thousands and thousands of hours of layups and free throws and 3-point drills that they're all doing. Everyone likes to say, oh, you're so talented. And it's true. Some of us are born with gifts that elevate us above others in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
But the true the difference between, you know, like the Michael Jordans of the world and I'll say a Josh Howard, because most people probably don't even know who that is. Uh, the difference between them is is and that's the point. But the difference is all those thousands and thousands of hours of extra work and focus and dedication and studying your craft on your own, and also trying to learn from other people who are better than you. One of the biggest things I always tell artists, young artists, is whoever your favorite artist is, you're gonna start out copying them. And I
Yep.
know that's a big taboo. People are like, you shouldn't copy, you shouldn't trace. Bullshit. That is actually, it's a lot of non-artists who tell you that. The truth is, there's a method to tracing over people and studying from them at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a method to copying someone's style and then figuring out how your wrist and your fingers like and your imagination likes to see these forms versus that original creator.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, because that's what I used to do with Dragon Ball Z, I used to draw a lot of those characters, but then I started to really play them up. I started to make Piccolo look more like how I would want him to look. I made the Saiyans look more like how I'd want them to look. And they eventually morphed into my own characters. To where most people, when they see my art, they're like, oh, this reminds me of Dragon Ball, but this is different. And
Yeah.
it's because I'm pulling from different sources of influence and inspiration.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up because I feel that's with like anything creative. You feel me? And I'm glad you brought that basketball reference because you know, I mean, I know exactly what you talked about. Some of y'all, Josh used to do that. You feel me? But he wasn't the Michael Jordan, okay? You feel me? But yeah, it's like it's you imitate somebody until you find your flair of it. And then when you find your flair, that's when you kind of step into your own. So that was some great ass advice to give somebody that's trying to get into the art game, that's trying to do their own thing, a young artist, hell, even a older artist that's like trying to get in back into it and stuff like that, bro. So that was some solid ass advice, bro. Hey, bro, I got to get at some air horns, bro. You feel me? God damn. And you know what else I gotta get air horns too before we show it? Your art, bro. God damn, bro. This shit is fire. Do y'all see that? Do y'all see the details? Bruh,
Appreciate that.
bruh, this
That's
shit is
actually
fire. You
that
feel
one's
me?
actually based. Most of the women. Well, a good amount of the women are actually based on real women. Uh,
Yeah. Hold on. Boom. Look at the detail. Bro, the detail, bruh. God damn. All right. I do have one more question before we get out of here. Let me show a couple more. You feel me? Look at that. Look at the detail. Do y'all see that? God damn. But anyway, My last question is there anywhere that people can find these prints, or do you even sell these as prints, or you feel what I'm saying? Is there somewhere people can maybe buy these things if you sell them?
Um, I did have an Etsy shop, but I done away with that for now just because it wasn't really selling. Most of the stuff I'm doing now is I go and print. I'm making little stickers. Matter of fact, I can show you some.
Hell yeah.
Um, I've been doing the stickers for a few years now, but I'm really changing the direction of them. I just started to make some. Actually, I don't know if you can
There we
see
go.
some
Okay,
of myself.
yeah.
That's this is more just for branding. But
Okay.
then, like, you know, this one was based off of one of the women.
Nice.
She actually dressed up in costume, posed for me, and I told her, I'm like, because you did this, I am going to go ahead and turn you into a sticker.
Hell
And
yeah.
so there's certain ones that, there's I won't do it for everybody, but there are certain people who are very supportive. They're very open to the vision that I'm trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I'm actually asking them stuff, they're very responsive. So I do take that stuff into heart. And whenever it comes to those type of people, I'm like, you know what? Let me go out and make a sticker of this person, or let me maybe feature them in my portfolio somehow. And in terms of the art prints, I am gonna start. I did make some of those Wonder Womans, but I gave them all. Yeah, I gave most of them actually to the lady who had actually who it was based on.
Yeah.
But I I will be featuring art prints and stuff when I'm at these shows like the Rising Phoenix coming up. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start trying to put some of my male characters out there, like some of the ones who I'm writing stories about,
Okay.
because at the end of the day, that along with the women, their story is what I really wanted to get into animation for. So I
Yeah.
was like, while I'm not an animator, I can at least, while I'm writing my story, I am working on some comic panels or like trying to play around with stuff. I was like, I can at least start to put my characters out there and just test people's response to them. It may not, I may, who knows, I may sell some of them. Some of them, I feel like the way my mom raised me up is sometimes you got to give in order to receive, you know?
True bill.
And it's not always about you getting money back at that moment. Sometimes it pays off down the line. I mean, I've had many people reach out to me that hired me for gigs and stuff based on them seeing me at an event or at a gym where I really wasn't making any money and, maybe gave a few stickers out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the end of the day, like it starts to really accumulate and trickle. So I feel like, you know what, if I toss some of these characters and stories out, I can start to see, of course, people's reaction to them and then just get feedback on what the demand would be if they want me to create more. And eventually I'll start to figure out that marketing strategy. I'll be honest, as an artist, I suck at marketing. It drains my energy, just to be honest. I'm It's actually better when the girls I draw actually tag me and do more of the
The
posts and the
marketing and
comments and
stuff.
all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm like, when I finish a drawing, I'm just like, hey, this is basic. This is the lizard man. I have a whole lot more
Yeah.
about these characters. I just don't know how much I want to reveal. I'm very sensitive about keeping certain things close to the vest. I just
Yeah.
know that the internet is a wild, wild west of people that like to, sometimes steal ideas with the
Mm.
wrong intent. Is one thing like there's a quote about artists stealing, like the best artists steal from each other.
I heard that quote.
Yeah, it's somewhat true, but it's tongue in cheek because honestly, the great artists that I know that have borrowed from other artists, it was years and years of studying that other artist. It wasn't like they went and copied the artist and then framed it like went and sold a piece of theirs as if it was theirs. That is a different type of I mean, there's no ethic in that. But
Oh no.
I just know the internet is full of people like that, and with the
Digital
rise and
things. Damn.
and especially with the rise of AI art and stuff, it's kind of, it's not that it's just making it easier for those people. It's actually kind of incentivizing people to go ahead and be thieves in that way, versus really trying to develop their own craft. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm like, you know what? If I see someone with an art style that's similar to mine, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, the dude's taking my art style. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quote unquote my style for anyone to take. But when it comes to characters and the stories I'm developing, because a lot of them have to do with personal issues that I've had to overcome,
Mhm.
that I am very sensitive of. And I'm like, I ain't putting too much out there for that.
I feel that. I feel that. But, so I do have one more question for you, and I did want to show the people out there some of the male artwork you've done. You feel me? Fire. Hey, has anybody ever told you like it gives like a street fighter vibe from your characters? Have you ever heard that before? Or
I have, because I do try to draw. I'm an artist that does things a little bit unorthodox, because sometimes I get criticized by other artists who are like, oh, you didn't do the lighting and the rendering right, or the anatomy could have been like this. Bro, I know, but I'm like, sometimes I'm not trying to be particularly accurate with anatomy or
Mhm.
lighting and stuff. I'm trying to create a feel. And a lot of times I want to create action with my art. Even if someone's just kind of standing still, I want there to be a sense of energy and motion.
Yeah.
And the Street Fighter artists were great at that, because they sometimes still sketched out their drawings and they'd still have all these beautiful layers of paint and stuff over it. But if you
Mhm.
really look closer, you'd see there's a lot of that sketchiness, those pencils and stuff. So that, oh, that's where the energy's at. So
Yeah, man, fire, bruh. God damn. All right, my last question is this. What can somebody like me or the people out there, what can we do to help you be successful? You feel me? What actions can we take? You feel me? Cause I like to ask that question to like business owners and things in that nature. You feel me? Cause that's the whole point of this, you know? So
I mean, honestly, I think stuff like this is great. Like, I've never done an interview over my art before.
on the first one?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I appreciate you having me on. And like,
Man, that's what's up.
stuff like this is, I've kind of always wanted to do or thought about doing channels and all that, but I don't have the tech savvy and the energy to focus on doing that.
Okay.
um I got enough on my plate with trying to create business cards, tablecloths, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um but honestly, I think giving me a follow on Instagram at BC underscore Royce underscore art, um, you know, that helps out a lot, as well as, sending me a direct message, especially um, if you want to check out. There's some people who may be interested. I do have another page. They can try to give it a follow. It's at Buxom Boxers.
Okay.
Uh, and that features more of what I want to do with the women characters that I'm creating. But, you know, just giving follows to that stuff, and then also offering comments on what you see versus just likes, because everyone just does likes nowadays. And honestly, I think Instagram is doing something different with their formula, because I have more followers than I had before, but I just can't get, it's like
Dang it.
my stuff doesn't get the same amount of views and comments and feedback as I used to.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Honestly, though, I think because the digital gods are not with me, I don't think word of mouth probably is the best thing. If I ever give you one of those stickers, put it on your, put it on your shaker,
On the mug,
when
yeah.
you're working out, and don't just have it, if you can, without being too abrasive, be like, hey, I got this cool thing from this artist, man, just give them a follow.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, bro. All right. We coming to an end of the show. You did say it earlier, but I want you to reiterate it again. Let them people know where they can find you. If you got any projects or anything else coming up that you want my audience to know before we get out of here, bro.
So yeah, upcoming projects. I will be at the Wings of Strength booth. It's on September 30th. It's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
For those who are bodybuilding fans and followers, I will be doing drawings and stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then I'm also working on a comic book, mainly a story. I'm gonna figure out how to play with it. I'm drawing out some of the panels, um, and I plan on just kind of releasing that out more in person when I'm at these shows and events. Even when I set up at gyms, one of the gyms I get a lot of love at. Shout out to Metroflex Murrieta,
Yeah.
Ryan, the owner there. He is a big, big, big supporter. He's not the
Okay.
only gym. I've had other gyms that have shown me a lot of support, like TG, the gym, but Metroflex and Murrieta they've had me back there for years, and he's consistently positive and supportive, especially when he sees the growth I've been making. And anytime I post something on my story, like involving them, he's always tagging and adding it. And then he's also, whenever I'm there, featuring it. So I just got a big shout out to him and the people there. Um, but and then outside of those upcoming events, I do want to at least take my art on the road. I want to start going and driving out to different gyms throughout the country and just setting up at the ones that'll let me, and see if people are interested.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
so you can find me though, mainly through Instagram. That's where most people, uh, I guess, give me a follow or actually reach out for business. Is at BC underscore Royce, ROYCE art.
And look, y'all already know I'm gonna have them links in the description below, so y'all can easily just whoop, use your mouse, you on your phone, bam, click it, and it goes straight to it. You feel me? Look, man, BC Royce, man, I appreciate you for coming on to the news show, blessing us with your talent. Like I said, your artwork is fire. I ain't lie, I ain't never seen no shit like this. I'm
I
like,
appreciate that, bro.
this shit is unique. It is fire. It is something different, and I could see blended styles within it, and it's just like I think it's incredible. You feel me? You know what I mean? So,
I,
with that being said, man, I appreciate you coming on to the show again, man. People out there, y'all go follow, bro. You feel me? Let's get them numbers up. Let's get them follows up. And look, man, look, this is another episode of Storm in the Brain. I'm your lovely or hated host, Kamal, aka the Black Seinfeld, aka Magic X. It says I got the best audience and guests out there. What should y'all be doing right now? That's right. Give yourself a round of applause. Everyone for y'all too. I'm
all
telling
right,
you,
brother.
man, fire. All right, man. Um, for my tubers though, man, YouTube been around since 2005. I don't need to tell y'all what to do to get the video or the channel booming. But just like the rest of the tubers say, I'm gonna say the same thing. Like a sub a share, comment,
Gorge.
comment, like. Y'all know what to do. Some of y'all smart out there, you feel me? And for my Twitch family, hit your bro to follow, hit your bro to share. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right. Now, BC, we gotta pay bills. You feel me? So I got my lovely sponsor, First Place Losers. The link to the shop gonna be in the description below. Y'all go check out the fire ass garments made out of 100% Egyptian cotton. I guarantee it boost your sex appeal up by let's say a 13%. And look here, it look good on me. It's most definitely gonna look good on y'all. And BC, I'm gonna talk to you after we get off of here because I think this would be a good thing for you to use called spread shop or whatever, where you could put your designs on the shirt itself, and then I mean that could be another avenue of revenue if you interested. But we're gonna talk offline for a little bit. But
All
other
right.
than that, you feel me? I appreciate y'all. You feel me? Y'all give my bro BC a follow. And on that note, we out, y'all.
I appreciate you. Come on.
Hell yeah.